Hey everyone, it's Newdlehead here, and today I'm here to review Shadow the Hedgehog. Oh boy, Shadow the Hedgehog. This game is pretty strange. It's almost hard to describe. There's guns, cursing,
Where's that damn fourth Chaos Emerald?
and
This is like taking candy from a baby, which is fine by me.
a whole lot of edge. When I first played this game, it was a really odd experience. It's honestly kind of surreal. Who would have expected a game like this from Sonic Team, the same people who brought us lighthearted games like Sonic Adventure and Sonic Heroes? This game is definitely different to say the least. In Shadow the Hedgehog, Shadow has no memories of his past, and while trying to reflect on his life, aliens come down from the sky. And then the mysterious figure Black Doom confronts Shadow and tells him to find the 7 Chaos Emeralds as promised, and then disappears. This leads Shadow to believe that the Chaos Emeralds are the key to figuring out about himself and his past. It's a pretty simple plot, but hey, it could be worse. In-game, you can perform missions for the Hero Path or the Semi-Hero Path, perform missions for the Dark Path or Semi-Dark Path, or just skip missions altogether and get to the goal ring like you would in a normal Sonic game for the Neutral Path. The missions you complete will take you on a certain string of levels. For example, if you're doing hero missions, you'll go through the hero route and you'll play the 6 levels for that specific story. Meaning if you want to play all 22 levels, you have to keep replaying the game and choose different routes. And if you want to unlock the final story of the game, you have to beat the game 10 times and get the 10 different endings. I don't get why they gave this game a final story. This game is supposed to be all about choice, but having a final story means that your choices in the game don't really matter in the end. And while playing different levels in order to access different endings does add to replayability, replaying the game multiple times is just incredibly tedious, especially because you have to replay the first level Westopolis 10 times. 10
Damn.
times. It gets real old, real fast, and the whole thing just makes me frustrated. The gameplay is like your typical Sonic game. You got your running, your spin dash, and your homing attack. But for the first time in a Sonic game, you've also got guns. Apparently Sega got a lot of requests from fans wanting to see Sonic with the gun, which is totally weird. I don't know why anyone would want to see that, but I do have to give this game some credit. The guns are actually really fun to use. There's plenty of guns to choose from, and I feel like they add a lot of fun to the game. There's also vehicles in this game that you can use too, but they're way slower than Shadow and are kind of pointless to use. There's also a hero gauge and a dark gauge. You can fill up your hero gauge by destroying aliens. You fill up your dark gauge by destroying gun soldiers. When the hero gauge is filled, you become invincible, and you also have infinite ammunition until the gauge runs out. You also have the ability to use Chaos Control, which allows you to speed through the level until your gauge is empty. I think that this move is kinda pointless because depending on what route you choose, you're most likely performing missions, so using Chaos Control would lead you to zoom past your objective. The Dark Meter functions pretty similar, except when it's filled, you can perform Chaos Blast, which creates a huge explosion which destroys everything that's near you. While the graphics are not necessarily bad, they are pretty bland. They reused the models from Sonic Heroes, which isn't a bad thing. I love the models from Sonic Heroes. But most of the levels and aesthetics are kind of dark and gritty, and when mixed together, the models look out of place. Sonic Heroes' bright and shiny models worked in Sonic Heroes because the graphics in that game were vibrant as well. I get that they were going for a darker aesthetic, but it just doesn't look right. The majority of cutscenes use in-game models and assets, and they look pretty decent. Some of the cutscenes have some seriously high quality CGI. There's only a few CGI cutscenes, but man, I feel like all their budget went into making these detailed cutscenes instead of the actual game. There's not much I can say about the music in this game. There's no tracks in this game that really stand out. Every track in the game sounds pretty dull, and there's nothing memorable. It's kind of disappointing. Usually Sonic games have some really good music, but for this game, that just isn't the case. The physics in this game are pretty much copied and pasted from Sonic Heroes, except they're a lot slippier. Considering how fast Shadow is, you'll find yourself getting hit by enemies constantly just because of how hard he is to control. I've also had plenty of times where my homing attack didn't work properly and it led to my death. Everything just feels kind of unstable. The level design in this game has you doing a lot of platforming. You'd think they'd give Shadow a lot of speed sections considering how fast he is, but nope. In most of the levels you'll be going through sections where you have to kill enemies and get through obstacles, and occasionally you'll go through a loop or two. But those loops are really the only part of the levels that really focus on speed. Most levels are hit and miss, but I think some levels are well designed, like the levels Sky Troops and Death Ruins. The voice acting in this game isn't anything special. They did get the actors from the 4Kids Sonic X show, which I guess is kinda cool, but their line delivery is off, making their dialogue sound kind of bad.
Thought you might say something like that.
Is it just me, or does Rouge sound slightly masculine?
Hey Shadow, Gun has driven the Black Aryans into this jungle.
I don't know, maybe it's just me. The swearing. Oh my gosh, the swearing. I don't know whose idea it was to add cursing into this game, but it's just bad. You hear the word
Damn,
so much in this game, even when you die.
damn it, not here.
I guess they did this to make the game more dark and edgy, but it just comes off as goofy. They even got Sonic swearing too.
Damn, they got away! Leave it to me, I'll chase them down.
Come on, Sonic. You're better than that. The swearing, the dark atmosphere, and the guns made me realize something. This isn't Shadow the Hedgehog. This is Shadow the Edgehog. I think this game would be a lot better if you could just play all 22 levels in order. Doing missions just isn't fun, especially when all you're doing is destroying every enemy. Missing an enemy in one of those missions means backtracking and trying to find the enemy you missed, and having to do that so many times is just annoying. I don't get why Sega had to complicate this game. I think the simple get from A to B formula would have worked a lot better, and it would have made more sense instead of giving us multiple pathways to endings that don't really matter in the long run. To be honest, I don't really like this game. I feel like this game had a lot of potential, and while some aspects of the game are fun, I just didn't enjoy the overall experience. Some people say this game is so bad it's good, but I think it's just plain bad. The fact that you have to beat the game 10 times in order to unlock the final story is irritating. The missions aren't fun to complete, and the game tries too hard to be edgy and different. When it comes down to it, I'd take Sonic Adventure or Sonic Heroes over this game any day. Overall, I'd have to give this game 2 noodles out of 5.